Okay, good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
I am
Fine,
very
thank
good.
you. Very good.
Well, listen, we're discussing chivalry today, and it was Valentine's Day just a couple of days ago. So I'm sure you've been at your most chivalrous over the last few days, I'm sure. Otherwise, you know what will happen, right?
No
Things.
comment moving forward.
No comment.
Okay, okay. So chivalry, is it still expected? Is it something that men are expected to do uh, in 2025? Who wants to who wants to start the conversation?
Anthony, after you, sir.
Um, it's a weird one. Um, I think a lot of guys feel that they don't want to cross a line. Does that make sense? Where you're doing something that you feel is being like a gentleman, but then can be misconstrued as something else, right? As almost creepy or what's your agenda and so forth. And I think that has kind of soured a lot of way men feel about chivalry in a way. And equally on the other side, I think there's so many things that have been put in the press about incidents that have happened where women have been sort of maybe been taken advantage of or on vulnerable situations. Men's have done things which make with a lot of women on their guard. So it's kind of a little bit like, you know, if of a normal young, well, kind of, as we were growing up, we were told, open the door, say thank you, and the usual, la di da di da di da. And as we're getting on now, we're seeing almost like a change towards that. It's like you don't have to say that. If you start saying things like that, what does that? Are you trying to say that you're beneath us or whatever? And it's like, it's very confusing. And I found, I'm going to speak to you about something that happened to me later on, which was a typical example of this whole thing where I just didn't know what to say afterwards. But I think it's still there, and I'm glad it's still there because we all said last time we're advocates of it, and we don't want to change. We do believe in, helping, if a woman open the door, opening up a car door, if you're going out, if we pay if we can, it's all a lot of these things which you can compromise, but it's still ingrained in us. And so, for me, I still believe in it. But like I said, things are changing slightly where you start to almost second think sometimes. Should I or should I not?
Good point. Good
Okay.
point. Nick, how do you feel?
I think, like we mentioned it briefly on the last one, which is this age of chivalry, where it comes from the Middle Ages to do with knights and stuff like that. And I had a look at it. I had a quick look at it on how does it relate to modern day society. Now, on an individual level, I'm petrified of trying to be chivalrous to a female. I'm petrified. Ah, you misogynist. Why are you helping me with this bag? Like I can't do it myself. Oh, jeez. I can get that. I can get that anywhere. I don't need to step outside and kind of hunt for that kind of nonsense. So for me, my bit here is if I open a door for me and Anthony, and I don't know Anthony, and I open a door for him, that's an act of chivalry. Chivalry is just basically common courtesy. That's all it is. But there's a lot of this stuff now where it can kind of, I don't know. I just find that people can get offended far too easily, and I'm of the age where I'm just tired of it. I'm just like, okay, well, look, you take your offense, you go and have lunch with that offense, do what you want with that offense, but don't involve me in it. I was trying to, intention is everything for me with this. So if I'm aiming, I saw a woman not too long ago trying to get into a coffee shop, but she's got her children in the pram and she's struggling. So I opened the door. Of course I did. Now I'm already sitting down having my coffee, but of course I've seen her struggling. Thankfully, it was a nice smile. Thank you very much, etc., etc. Done. I was petrified doing that. In case it was, do you think I'm not capable? But this could also move on, and I think parts of it, and I'm being very careful on how I phrase this because I don't want to upset anyone. Say for example, somebody with a disability. Now, we know that a lot of people with disabilities have learned to live with these disabilities and they manage. Well, just human to human, if I see you struggling, I know that within who I am, if I can help, I want to. And what I'm learning is that's not always the right thing, because when I've gone to help people with disabilities, do you think I'm not capable? Well, okay, cool. I never meant it as a disrespect. So now what happens is I refrain from doing any of it, and then I'm seen as not chivalrous. Well, I can handle that. I'll take that then. I don't mind. So, as Anthony said, I'm just going to try and be who I am, but it's kind of double guessing. Is this an okay situation?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually crazy that we have to kind of think like that, really. But we'll sort of try and touch on why we feel like that in a moment. But from my perspective, chivalry is something that is inculcated into my who I am in my DNA. I'm naturally that way inclined. I like to help support, and I like to, be a decent human being. And if I can open a door for someone, a perfect stranger, male, female, doesn't really matter to me, really. It's just an act of decency. As regards to in a relationship with my partner, my missus, I think it's really important. I think and I've never come across a woman that hasn't really liked me being chivalrous towards them, or their partners being chivalrous. Because then generally I find that most women that I meet will complain about their partner not being chivalrous, not buying flowers, not opening car doors, and things of that nature. So I think the generation that we've probably grown up with, that was quite normal. And I genuinely feel that most women do find chivalry quite a nice thing. I wouldn't say that they would be feeling any way fearful of a man opening a door for them. I think they'll see that that's polite, and that's a decent thing to do. I mean, in conservative society, that's the normal thing to do, isn't it? The who are Henrys, they're always, the knight that takes off their coat and puts it over the puddle, so the damsel in distress can walk over the puddle, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, it's part of British culture, isn't it? Sure, it is. Would you agree? It's a part of UK British
the way we're brought up, even in TV and even in the films that we watched, that's how it's always been. But I just want to touch on an example. What I said earlier, it's been bubbling in me, and I've got to get it out of the way. I've got two small ones. Right. So this is an example of why it's confusing today. I was working in a company. This is quite a few years back, and I was coming out of the office. And as I was coming out of the office, I noticed that the door was quite a stiff door. I could use one arm and pull it, but even myself, I found it, difficult. So I went out the door, and then I realised I left something back up in the office. So as I was going to go back, I saw this woman coming to the door. Right, she's about middle-aged, 40, whatever. And as you said, Nick, I went up and just, you almost like interject, don't you? Just open the door. So let me open the door. As I went to open the door, she said to me, "I'm quite capable of doing this myself, thank you very much." And I just went, okay. I'm sorry. I just said to her, I was just trying to open the door. It says, "Oh, do you think just because you're a guy, I can't do it myself?" I went, okay, fine. I walked back. I could see this woman struggling to open the door. She was yanking it. She couldn't do it. She was cursing the door and everything. What did I do? I went out. I just left her. I went to the shops and just to get something. I couldn't be bothered to go back and help her because of the way I just felt. I do not want to go back there and get another insult, right? Or I didn't want to go back there and be told, oh, yes, the whole, misogynistic attitude, right? when I went back in the office, my colleagues just said, I can't believe that. And one of my colleagues said, I do. I've had it loads of times. I went, really? So that's one. Second time, on the bus, going to work again, and there was this woman struggling with her little kids and stuff like that. And one of the kids was being a little bit boisterous. And there was an old gentleman there, kind of looked Mediterranean looking. And the little boy fell on the floor, and he picked up the boy just nicely and just said, "Are you okay, whatever." The woman immediately attacked him. She says, "What are you doing? Touching my boy? How dare you? Who are you?" He was so mortified and shocked.
Yeah.
And he just sat there. And when the woman got off, there was a couple people consoling him. He was almost on the verge of crying. He was like saying, "I would never do. I've got children. I've got grandchildren. What?" And this is what I mean. This is two examples of what happens today. Why I think males feel a little bit reluctant to act out that sort of courteous, "Can I help you?"
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you said, Anthony, I think. And the last part that you just said is where I am. Chivalry basically is common courtesy. Unfortunately, it's just courtesy isn't that common anymore. But part of the reason is because it is petrifying. Now that with the guy picking up that child that got hurt, for me, I've never met him, but I feel for him. Now, it goes back to that old African adage, which is it takes a village to raise a child. If I see a child hurt on the floor, my instinct is going to kick in as a dad, and I'm going to want to make sure that child is okay. I'm a father. I want to make sure that this baby is okay. If they're on the floor a little bit distressed, now, if the parent then attacks, it is embarrassing. It is kind of the fingers pointed like, "You weirdo, what you doing," etc. And this is the nonsense with just common courtesy in general. And we're looking at this from like men to women, but ultimately this is just common courtesy of one human being to another. But I've never had a guy say to me, "Do you think I'm not capable? What you doing?" I've never had that. So, and I would imagine and this is a guess, this is an absolute guess, so call me out on it if I'm wrong, but I would imagine, as you said earlier on when you first started speaking, Anthony, there's going to be a lot of women out there where men have tried to cross a line through using what appears to be common courtesy, but with an added agenda, you know. And I get that to a degree, but there's a part of me that thinks I don't understand that world. So if women have experienced that, then yeah, that in itself is crap, because men are going to use that, I would imagine. You know, don't get me wrong, if a woman opens a door for me, I'm not complaining.
No.
Thank you very much. And if you're trying to chat me up on the side of it, I'm going to go home and tell my missus and say, "Hey, somebody tried to," you know.
You still got it. You still got it, my friend. You still got it, Nick.
All I'll get from my missus is an eye roll, like, "Idiot." That'll be it.
Happens to me every day. Every day happens.
Yeah, well, no comment.
Yeah.
No comment.
What?
Moving on.
So, you know, as you're saying this, things have changed, obviously. Where do you think this change is actually coming from? Because I kind of get the feeling that men are now feeling a bit vulnerable to be chivalrous, and that's quite a normal thing. I would have thought to be kind, to be respectful. It's quite normal. So if you're feeling to a certain degree that, you know, being kind, chivalrous, or thoughtful to other people, is that not a bit dangerous? That we're becoming, to a certain degree, a nation of people that have to think twice about doing things of that nature. That's quite scary to me.
What do you think, Win? What do you think?
I think it's quite scary, and I was thinking to myself, well, where is this all coming from? So it's not men. Men are not being chivalrous. You know, I'll take your points, guys. That, you know, some guys do kind of use that as a tool to, you know, to manipulate women, so to speak. You know, being chivalrous. But the change has certainly come from the media, and has certainly from the professional environment. Now, I'm not sure if that's, you know, feminism at work. I don't know. Is it the media at work? I don't know. But what I do know is I feel, to a certain degree, that me being showing common decency is something that I have to second guess. To me, that's an issue because it's inculcated into me. I'm naturally that way. If I see someone struggling, I'm going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my character, my personality. So
Mm-hmm.
if I have to second guess that, then I'm second guessing who I am.
Do you think it's a generational shift?
Second guessing who you are.
Yeah, because I'm going to answer that question, Anthony. And I just hear Nick saying second guessing who I am. Yeah, because the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm here thinking to myself, okay, someone's struggling with a door. It's my nature to go and open that door to help that person because I have the ability to do so.
Mm.
But now I'm having to step back and think, oh, they might take offense.
Mm.
So then I'm not doing what comes natural to me.
Mm.
So that's taking something away from who I am. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. If you don't mind me jumping in on that, Win. I mean, the reason why I repeated what you said, second guessing who I am, because I'm thinking about that. But part of who I am as well is that I'm non-confrontational. I'm a very pacifist kind of character. I'm just passive by nature. So if I'm going to do something, which is it's in me, exactly as you just said, Anthony, you said it as well. If I see somebody struggling with a door, with their shopping bags, whatever it is, if I can help, I will. However, part of who I am as well is I don't want any confrontation. I don't want any beef, as they say. So my bit is I need to I'm going to have a look at this situation. If it's, for example, if it's an elderly lady, I'm jumping in and helping. Now, if she then says, pee off, young man, I'm quite capable, okay, cool. But if this is a woman of my age or slightly younger, and they're an attractive person, like I said to you, I get it that they could see it that this guy's trying something here. So then for me, there's a part of me, which is, I don't want to get involved in that. It's too scary for me. So I will keep away from that kind of stuff. So I think both elements are within me. But you asked, where has this come from? Is it generational? For me, there's been an attacking on. We know that there's been an attacking of recent, that whether it's media, whether it's this, whether it's that there's an attacking on men being men. We know that that's gone on for a while. However, I'm really sorry. I don't buy into this, that it's media. I think 90% of us out there in the world know that what we're being fed is BS. We know that. So if we're being fed BS, we know it's BS, and we still follow through with it, that's our fault. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody else except for me and you two guys sitting here. It's down to us. If anybody else is taking that on, that's up to them. I will still, if there's a young person or anybody that needs help, my want will be to want to help. However, like I said, if it looks like that could be a situation where it's going to come back and bite me in the backside, there's a guy called Jeff Thompson, an author from Coventry. Now, he's a martial artist. He worked on the doors. He's a bit of a toughie. But again, a real gentle soul, because he knows what he's doing. He's like the Lamborghini at the traffic lights. He don't need to rev his engine. People know what he's got under the hood, so he doesn't go anywhere. He saw a couple in Coventry Town Centre having a domestic, and he had her pinned up. Now, the guy had her pinned up. What did he do? He stood from a distance and he said, excuse me, speaking to her, and said, do you want my assistance? So he asked her outright, do you want this? Because if you don't want my assistance, I'll walk on. I'll call the police, but I'll walk on. If you're telling me you want my help, I will get this guy off of you. It's entirely up to you. So he gave her the option. Now, would I be that thoughtful if I knew what I was doing with these? I'm not so sure. But this is where it's got to, that I'm not going to blame the media. I'm not blaming these people on social media, if you like, which we're partaking in. These people on Instagram and all these, where certain men and certain women are saying certain things, pinch of salt to me. Absolute pinch of salt. It makes no difference to me. I'm going to continue to be what I am. But with that fearful part of, I also need to protect this one, if that makes sense. So
So
yeah.
Nick, I because of the circles that I'm in, I'm round a lot of females, right?
Mhm.
And so it's quite interesting that I get to hear certain situations which sometimes I find amusing and sometimes I find alarming. But I was at an event where we were sitting down after this event, and it was a mixed group. Actually, it wasn't a mixed group. It was mostly women, and there was about 3 guys, and there was about, say, 10 women. And there was one woman there that was very, very. I wouldn't. I'm not going to bash on about being a feminist, but she was a proper feminist. It's just bang, bang, bang. And I've got no problem with that because I do believe that there's a lot of things that, we will. If you've got your missus and she's earning the same, doing the same job and not getting the same pay, I'm sorry, I'm the first one going to say why, right? Why? 100% of that. And this is, I totally disagree with that. But she made a couple of points which I sat back there and there's a couple of guys and we didn't know what to say. And then I just said, look, can I just say one thing? I know you're bashing a lot of guys here now. I said, do you drive a car? And she went, yes, I do. Okay. Okay. So it's, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Your car's broken down. The tire's flat. Do you know how to change a tire? She went, no, I'm not really into that. I don't know how to change a tire. I said, fine. Okay, fine. A lot of guys don't know how to change tires. That's life it is. I said, if you really, really struggling and you saw a couple guys, kind of builders guys, would you probably go and ask them, could you give me a hand? She went, yeah, I probably would. Okay. So I said, if you saw 3 women down the road who were wearing high heels, about to go somewhere to a party, why don't you ask them?
Hmm.
And she went, well, why? I said, no, why would you go and ask the guys? Why wouldn't you ask the women? And she just said, because I think these guys would do the job for me. The joke of it was everybody went quiet because she realized what she was saying. And I said, this is an example of what we're saying. If you would literally try and get the best people you can to help you. And if it's a couple guys walking down the road and they look like they can help you, you'd help them, right? You'd ask them. But if you're seeing a couple women down the road and they're just wearing little high heel shoes and they're off to somewhere, they're not going to be the people that you're going to ask, are you? It goes, she went, no. So where do you think that leaves the whole thing? And she went, you got a point. And I wasn't trying to make a point. I wasn't trying to make her feel bad. But this is why I'm trying to say what you're saying. It's really confusing.
It's
Because
just so
you know what I mean by that?
yeah, I mean the whole thing is so nuanced, and the thing is, for me, like I said, intention is massive. Now, you or any person I'm trying to be, I don't even. We're calling it chivalry.
Yeah.
Anyone that I'm showing common courtesy to will have no idea of my intention. That's where the confusion comes for the recipient of whatever it is that I'm trying to do. That's a nice thing. Simple as that. But I know my intention. My intention is always going to be, you just need a door, right? These are no big deals, but I don't want to miss what Winston said. And that is, where's it turned left? Why is this turning off? And I think it's turning left and turning off partly because of there is a fear factor. I have wondered before whether it is to do with just education in normal and believing this nonsense that we're seeing on the internet, believing this stuff. Just I'm seeing people in gyms, for example, and they're putting the camera up, the tripod, the whole 9 yards. And then when somebody walks across the film, the person filming is going crazy, and I'm watching this thinking, you're in a gym, you're not in a studio. And yes, okay, I would walk behind the camera, of course I would. However, you've got no given right to be, and there's a lot of I don't know, a lot of people with a sense of, I don't even know.
Entitlement?
That's a fair word. That's a fair word for it. A sense of entitlement. So you're going to get one person who's going to go, I don't need your help, I'm totally capable. You're going to get another person who's going to say, bloody hell, didn't you see me struggling there? You could have helped, which would have been a nice thing to do. And we don't know who's who here.
Yeah. It's very difficult, isn't it? Because I don't know if you guys feel the same. I just feel like that there's a division being thrust upon us by the media, to divide men and women.
Mm.
It seems that the topics of discussion seem to be the ones that are the most divisive, but yet the reasoning behind why men are chivalrous, especially in our culture here in the UK, it's something that's a part of common decency, part of conservative Britain. So, but like we've been discussing, the motivation behind it seems to be something where men are being creepy. They're trying to do it for purposes that are not righteous. But at the end of the day, there's only a small minority of people that do that type of thing. The majority of men do it because, majority of people that I know are chivalrous because they're just decent people. They see someone in a difficult situation, or they want to make someone's day more brighter than what it was before it started. And let's face it, I've never come across a woman that's not really appreciated on a date, me opening the door for them.
So can I might need to edit this, Win. Might need to, and I might need to take this out, what I'm about to say. And I'm going to ask for your opinion. But this is my honest opinion on this stuff, right? Let's say that I see a female that is aesthetically stunning. Yeah. My age, stunning. I am so much more less likely to help that one than I would somebody who aesthetically does nothing for me. When I was younger, it was the other way around. Now it's that way around because I don't want the intention to come across as, you're just trying to. No, I'm just trying to open the effing door. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be courteous here. But now for me, it used to be I would help the attractive ones, if you like. I don't like that term. But then, now as I'm older, I'm less likely to help those ones. And that's BS on my part.
Winnie, you talk.
I'm just going to say, there is absolutely nothing wrong for a guy who finds a woman attractive and wants to be chivalrous. That's common nature. You're showing that you're being polite. I've got a bright top on and I've got my chivalrous background going on because I appreciate chivalry, and my missus does as well when I am. So at the end of the day, some women will appreciate it, some women won't. I'd like to hear from women what they've got to say about this. Really, to be honest with you, do you want men to be chivalrous or not? I'm sure the majority of them would say yes. I'm sure that the majority of women this Valentine's Day just gone past, they wanted roses. I'm sure the majority. I'm sure they're not sitting at home thinking I didn't get no roses today. This on Valentine's Day, and I'm pretty pissed about that.
Do you know what, Nick? Do you know what, Nick? I'm going to say something. Maybe as I've got older now, I don't even care if you're attractive or not.
No,
right? And I think maybe because I've had a past where maybe I was in a bit of a nightclub industry for a while. I've been working with a lot of women for a while. I've got to that point now where you could be unbelievably stunning, or you can be normal. I don't see the difference. I know it sounds weird. I've kind of almost desensitized by that attitude now. I think a wise man said to me once, it doesn't matter if you've got a Ferrari, a BMW, an Audi, a Mini. Sorry, I'm not trying to get sponsorship for a car, by the way. Any of these cars, right? But when you lift up the bonnet, they've all got engines, they've all got all electrics, they've all got spark, they need servicing. They're the same people underneath. It's just got different personalities. And I know it sounds, you might think, oh, come on, you're being. I really don't care if you're attractive or not. And I'm not even trying to say what woman isn't attractive, but I'm just saying, I really don't mind anymore. I'll just do it for you. If you get offended, it's not my problem, right? It's your issue, not my problem. If you think you've got an issue, well, why trying to help you? That's not me. Something to go back to your world, Nick. That's some of it maybe you need to work on, right? And if you've got phobias or you've got like this fear, okay, that's fine. That wasn't my intention. But I can't live my life thinking like everything I do, I have to second think too much, because then you will just become just an isolated individual. I can't live like that. And maybe I'm surrounded by a good group of people that don't have that view. It's like, you're a male, female, do it. Well, I don't give a damn. And I think it's kind of ingrained into me now, where I don't have that issue so much. But I can understand, Nick, how you would feel
No,
about
I mean, mine is more of a safety thing, if I'm
that.
honest
Yeah,
with you. Maybe again because of the environment I've worked in for many years, with
yeah,
a lot of vulnerable people over the years. So my
yeah.
bit now was the only time you got to say it as you see it, right? And the reality is, you can only go from your experience. Now, whenever I've heard, very similar to what you're saying, I would help anybody, and I still would like to think that I would. However, I'm slower to help those ones because those are the ones that have always kind of given me the backlash of. I've even had it that I've held the door for somebody, and as she's walked past, ugh. Well, I don't like that feeling. That sat with me for days. All I've done is held the door open. She's taken from that something else and then insulted me on the way. I can't do anything with that. So, am I going to protect myself as well? Absolutely. And I hear that believe me, I hear that there's judgment in what I'm saying, even regarding. But like I said, I will help anyone. But I try to suss it out the best I can for safety for both.
Okay.
That's the best I can do.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate what you're saying. Okay, so there's another school of thought that says chivalry from men is simping, and yeah. So guys are actually saying that taking a woman out for dinner, for instance, and paying for it is simping, and you might be trying to be chivalrous, but it's seen as being a guy that just simps on women and pays for their attention, so to speak. What do you think about that?
I've got a very easy answer to one part of this win, which is this. As far as I'm concerned, I mean,
We've got 5 minutes, by the way.
I'm fortunate in the sense of in the relationship I'm in. But back in the day, if you give me this mindset now, I go with 50 Cent. I go with that attitude. And his attitude, somebody asked him, who pays for the date when you go out for a meal with a woman? And he said, whoever asked to go on the date in the first place.
Sure.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go 50-50. I'm happy to pay. But if somebody comes to me and says, I want to take you out to dinner, cool, then you're taking me out to dinner.
Then
Makes
also,
sense.
Nick, lastly, I'll get one in, and this is something maybe because because I've been going to Europe for so many, and there's also, I think there's a cultural differences. You've got to remember there's cultural ways of thinking like this as well. My one is this one. If I say to you, let's go out for a date, let's go for a coffee, and you say, I want to go to a hotel or a restaurant or whatever, and you find it difficult, but you can't go to a coffee shop with me, I'll walk on. Because if you can't go with me to the simple things, my next one will be more expensive. But if you can't go with me to the simple things, then that's a red flag to me already. Because I'm like, what are your expectations? So if your expectations are high from the very beginning, this is a problem, right? And this is why I see a lot of relationships break down. But if your expectations is 50-50, just take you as you are, that starts with a good foundation. I'm not trying to be a counselor here, but I'm just thinking, going back to about the simping, the attitude now. To me, if I take somebody out for a meal, if I take my missus out for a meal, and she says to me, "I'll pay today," you can pay.
But
you want to pay, you can pay.
This goes back to what Winston said a little while ago. So I see part of what you're talking about, Wim, which is here it is again, where now the attitude is if you're showing common courtesy, which is what chivalry is, you're then a weak man. So you can see the division where you show common courtesy, you're a weak man, and then we're wondering where it's coming. But this is the thing now. That won't stop hearing that piece of this is the rhetoric that's coming. That won't stop me from holding the door. All these guys that want to call me a simp, cool. I couldn't give what people think of me because no one's got a worse opinion of me than me. So my attitude is, you can call me what you want. I'm going to hold a door for a person. Always. I'm always going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to motivation, isn't it?
Yeah, intention. Yeah.
If your intent is to take someone out for dinner and you're into them and you want to show them your best side, which is what we all do at the end of the day. I think everyone should be aware of that on your first date you're going to show people your best intentions. it's just natural for me to want to pay for a meal. Doesn't mean that I'm simping. I think there's a big difference from chivalry and simping, isn't it? Really, simping is what we used to call in South London a bop, someone that's like they just do that to get girls' attention, and it was seen as quite weak to do that. But you know, a man that meets a woman and wants to take them out, you want to show them your best side of your character. So that's just quite normal. And like Nick says, it's just like I don't really give it to what anybody's got to say about me as a person. I know what my intentions are, and those intentions are all around demonstrating respect and having good behavioural skills, and showing a woman that look, I'm capable of paying for your meal. I'm capable of taking you out, and I'm capable of looking after your ass. So that's kind of what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's men being chivalrous, but at the end of the day, you don't buy a sports car necessarily because you want the sports car for yourself. You might be doing it to get attention, to attract females. I mean, Dave Chappelle was speaking about that on a comedy show the other day, which I found quite funny. So, I mean, we ain't got that long to go. Any final thoughts? Because we're not going to go into a part two, are we, of this? Although we could probably sit here and talk about it for another hour. So, final thoughts. Let's just give us your final thoughts.
Okay, so two things on this. This has highlighted how complicated this is. I don't think anyone's got a grasp on this because this is so individual. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to do this kind of identity kind of politics within this, if you like. This is so individual because you're going to have women that are going to have experiences of guys pretending to be nice and then showing different parts of themselves. So there was, it goes back to the intention. So we're going to have that. For me, all I can do is maintain who I am and do the best I can with that. One other thing really quickly, we haven't explained why Inch Eye isn't with us. Now, we could tell the truth and say that he's really unwell, or we could make him look bad and say he had no interest in this topic of chivalry. I don't know which one we want to go with, but...
The latter.
we could make...
Well,
he crazy. He didn't have anything to think about, and he's just come back from holiday, and he's still probably trying to get a bit of sun to capture that last bit of tan on the face.
Well, you're probably right. You're probably absolutely right. Well, my battery's very low, guys, so
I'm done.
We might have to wrap up a little bit quicker than we should do. Next week, what are we talking about? Are we talking about why we actually are doing the podcast?
Yes.
Why we actually?
Yeah.
I think individually we need to express our rationale and our reason behind this. Goes back to this, and it links in perfectly. What's our intention here?
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. I'm cool to wrap it up there if you guys are.
Listen, real quick, I'm going to say to any women that are watching this podcast, please give us your thoughts and feelings about chivalry and about men being simps as well. So if you've got anything to say, please let us know. Like, subscribe, and add your comments, please. Thank you very much. Guys, thank you for your time. Anthony, any last words?
I'm buying the drinks.
Done. All right, gents, have a lovely one, and I'll catch you up on the other side.
Peace and love.
See you later, mate.